Hello.
I was blocked!
By Kenneth Suna.
But oh boy, how? You seem so cool and totally normal.
Why you do that? Well, my friend, I'm going to show you.
Just a little note before we get started. I want to be clear that I'm not just trying to be mean or baselessly criticize anybody, including Kenneth. I just think it's really important that we hold financial influencers accountable to providing good information. So when a guy who 300,000 people trust to give good info about money starts talking nonsense, I think we need to address it. Okay? So here's what happened. A guy in the comments of one of Kenneth's videos asks how he would invest $400,000. Kenneth replies, probably some Bitcoin. 400K isn't enough to have a stock portfolio and an income property, but real estate is always a good option. Now, there are a lot of ways to read this, as we'll see later when Kenneth tries to defend it, and none of them make any sense. So if you have a functioning brain, you might be thinking one of a few things here. Number one, since when is 400K not enough to invest in stocks? Most brokerage accounts will let you buy fractional shares, including shares of ETFs that track the whole world's stock market, meaning you can invest in the entire world's publicly traded economy with just $1.
And there is no amount of money that is not enough to have a stock portfolio.
So this is just not true at all. Number two, speaking of real estate, if you had 400K to invest, why in the world would you put all 400,000 of those eggs in one basket by buying a single piece of real estate instead of buying something more diverse and flexible like, again, a couple of ETFs? And number three, probably the most obvious one of all of the millions of things in the entire world that you could put your money into as an investment, Kenneth chooses Bitcoin? But again, don't worry, Kenneth might have deleted all of my comments on this video, somewhat hilariously, but the real clash began when another financial TikToker, Jessica Inskip, who, as a side note, I highly recommend and definitely knows what she's talking about, posted a review of Kenneth's channel that, unfortunately, I had to respectfully disagree with in light of recent things I had seen him saying to people. I must disagree here. A couple days ago, I clashed with him in the comments because he was saying with 400K to invest, he'd suggest putting it into Bitcoin because, quote, 400K isn't enough to have a stock portfolio, unquote. Jess responded that she couldn't tell if this was my sense of humor or something that actually happened, which I can understand because it's absolutely ridiculous. So surely Kenneth wouldn't try to defend that, right? Kenneth Suna joins the chat saying, no surprise you got your own trolling wrong. The original comment was asking how to invest 400K if stocks weren't the only option. I said real estate, but it would be hard to have an income property and a stock portfolio with only 400K. And I said, quote, probably some Bitcoin, unquote. So I'm feeling like I'm getting a little bit gaslit out of my own opinion here. So let me ask you, is that how you read this comment? To me, it says probably some Bitcoin, and then provides justification for that dumb advice by saying 400K isn't enough to have a stock portfolio and an income property. Because that's literally word for word what it says. Now at this point, it's becoming very difficult to figure out what Kenneth is trying to say that he said. But my best guess is that he's saying he would ideally buy some real estate if you could get something for under 400K and then put the rest into Bitcoin. So I asked him, lol. So now you're saying if stocks weren't the only option, you just wouldn't invest in stocks at all? I quoted you directly from a screenshot, bruh. And I added a little note saying, P.S. When someone disagrees with you, it's not always trolling. Am I trolling? You tell me. I really don't want to be trolling. I just want to know what the heck this guy is talking about. But Kenneth thinks I am. He says, in this case, it is. Have a good night. Thanks, Kenneth. I have a screenshot too. You cherry-picked the quote. The full quote is 400K isn't enough to have a stock portfolio and an income property. The question was how to make 130K a year with 400K. Wait a second. First of all, I don't think it was. And second of all, is that the question Kenneth was trying to answer when he suggested real estate and Bitcoin? Guys, making 130K from 400K would entail a 32% return. So I reply, bruh! No, it wasn't. It was just where to invest 400K. And even if it was how to make 130K, you really think real estate can get you a 32% yearly return? Good luck with that. And clearly, Kenneth thinks I'm taking him out of context, so I copied and pasted his comment word for word so everyone can see it. He said, thank you for including the full quote. And is the important word here. I responded, it still isn't true. You can have a stock portfolio with literally $1, dude. Furthermore, buying a single piece of real estate with your whole net worth instead of something more diverse and flexible would also be wildly silly. So any way you read this, it's poop. And to that, Kenneth, like a mature adult, responds, blocking you now. So you don't have to suffer through my videos anymore. Have a good evening, handshake. Don't worry, Kenneth, I already wasn't watching them. I have to be honest, as hilarious as this is, I'm pretty disappointed because I really wanted him to respond with some, rational thought. Throughout this exchange in the comments, which I've shown you every single bit of, word for word in screenshots, I don't think we got any insight into why Kenneth would be recommending Bitcoin to his viewers as an investment, what question he really thought he was trying to answer, or really any specific financial rationale for giving user 381-61283-40630 this extremely questionable advice. And people who follow him are clearly very surprised by it too, to the point of not believing that it actually happened. For example, calling BS 100%. And that simply didn't happen. Here it is happening, Mr. Alex, who also has 45,000 followers, talking primarily about what? Bitcoin? Probably a coincidence, but I find it funny. I think the moral of this story is that it's really hard to find trustworthy people online, especially if they're talking about money, which is why I think what Jess is doing with this series is really great. I certainly don't have the stamina for it, and I'm not going to be making a lot of videos like this. We're going to go right back to the normal programming right after this, because I don't want to just criticize people online all day. I want to teach you stuff.
But this stuff is important, man. If your money situation gets messed up because of some bad advice you saw online, that could mess up your entire life. That's why I spent like a week of my life making this video, because bad money advice is dangerous. So as one final note, I just want to point out that the whole basis of Kenneth Suna's channel is actually the biggest fiction in all of investing,
which is that average people, or even experts, have any real chance at beating the market consistently by picking individual stocks.
The right answer is low-cost, diverse ETFs.
In a comment thread Kenneth deleted from this original video I commented on, Kenneth got upset that I was questioning why he would invest only in the US stock market instead of diversifying globally. He deleted all those comments before I could screenshot them. But he basically said, you know what, why don't you make a video about what you would invest in, and then people can critique that. To which I believe my exact words were, already doing it, Kenneth. But just to go ahead and answer that question, basically my entire net worth is in these two Vanguard ETFs, and I'll talk all about them in the next videos. It's just too bad Kenneth already blocked me and therefore won't see this video or probably those ones either. So if you're feeling like helping me out and you know somebody who follows Kenneth, maybe you could send him this video, because honestly, I'd really like to see how he'd respond. I want to teach you stuff
because it is both educational and, if I do say so myself,
lol,
very
lol,
very funny.
lol, 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 Bitcoin?
Oh.